Welcome to VMblog's coverage of VMware Explore 2022 in San Francisco. Today, we have the pleasure of having Henning Volkmer, who's the president and CEO at ezeep by ThinPrint. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's a long enough way to say I run the Americas business here.
Nice. Maybe you can start for people that don't know about you guys. Can you give us kind of a company overview?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with a very brief history. The by ThinPrint part has been one of the key contributors to the EOC space for going on 22 years or so. So we've definitely been around the industry for a while. And then as things became more cloudy, we started the ezeep brand to have a clear distinction between what we do on-prem and what we do in the cloud. And so we've put a lot of work into ezeep over the past couple of years to make sure that we have a cloud print offering that can really cover anything from your traditional EUC use case scenarios, maybe slightly more advanced EUC use cases if you're running your virtual desktop, say from an iPad or something like that, but also all the way to all the other random print use cases that we kind of tend to forget about. There's so much printing in logistics, manufacturing, healthcare, all those things where as IT people, if I may include myself in that crowd, we don't really print all that much throughout the day. But if you look at what happens in our organizations, there's really a ton of printing going on that we rely on. And our slogan for this year is like printing, just better. So we want to make sure you get the result that you're looking for without all the hassle that is traditionally associated with printing.
Now, we've seen you guys at VMworld in the past when we used to be allowed to have in-person trade shows. We're back now. We're doing VMware Explore, which is another VMware event. So how does your company, partner with or work with VMware in the ecosystem?
We've worked very, very closely with VMware for so long that I don't remember exactly how long it's been. It's been well over a decade where VMware had licensed a small bit of ThinPrint technology to include in VMware Horizon. I think that includes all the versions up to and including version 7 to enable printing in that scenario. And then we've always had the ThinPrint engine that had more elaborate functionality for more complex type of scenarios. And on the ezeep side, we've made sure that we can do exactly the same thing. So whether you're virtualizing some backend application on vSphere and you want that to integrate with an easy cloud printing functionality, we can do that. Or if you're just running a standard virtual desktop on VMware, we can install the ezeep print app on there as well and deliver the print functionality in there as well.
Now, what would you say specifically that your company offers someone who has a VMware implementation, and what kind of problems do you solve for them?
I think the ease of use is probably one of the biggest things that we contribute. I think printing gets a fairly bad rep because it is somewhat tedious both for users and especially for the admin side of the equation. And with ezeep, we can really make sure that whether you're running a full desktop or whether you're running published applications or whether you're switching to a mobile device partway through or you're running a local application with very, very little effort, and we'll see that in the demo in a little bit, you can make sure that the users have the printers they need when they need them. With just a few clicks, you can make updates to the printers really quickly and they automatically populate to the users. You don't have to work with printer drivers. That's all something that can live in the ezeep cloud. You don't have to work with print servers. We can replace those with the ezeep hub. We can offer secure pull printing, so that a user has to authenticate at a printer before their job actually comes out. And we can make sure that if you're building a zero trust type environment where someone has to authenticate before they are allowed to use any kind of resource, we can do that, since the printers can be segmented onto a different network than the user, so that there's no direct access for the users, except for when they sign in through the ezeep app, where they may have to use their single sign-on credentials to actually have access to a printer. And then on the back end of the equation, they have to authenticate at the printer to actually retrieve their print jobs. We have an API if you have back-end type of applications, so you can deliver your print jobs straight into ezeep, and then have ezeep deliver them, say, to warehouses, to affiliated doctors' offices and clinics, to locations of your retail chain, whatever type of scenario you have. You can really build those with the technology that we've built.
Now, thinking about your technology as we dig into it a little bit deeper, I guess really what makes it unique or stand apart or differentiated in the market?
I think it's the versatility, first and foremost, that really makes ezeep unique. And that kind of comes a long way from the ThinPrint history, if I may go back that far again, where I used to always describe the technology almost like a box of Legos, where either with instructions or with a little bit of outside help and creativity, you can turn the same set of bricks or blocks into a police station, into a fire station, into a boat, whatever it is that you might need for your particular application scenario. That's really something we can build with ezeep very, very easily. The probably most visible thing on the user side is the lack of having to deal with printer drivers. I think they're probably one of the biggest sources of frustration when it comes to printing. We can replace those entirely. There are no printer drivers except for an ezeep driver that you roll out to your various devices, whether that's a virtual desktop or a physical desktop. That takes away a huge chunk of the work that's required with printing usually. And the other thing that I guess from a more tangible perspective is the ezeep hub. It's a small, I forgot to bring one to hold up into the camera, but we'll have one at VMware Explore. It's a small solid state micro appliance that replaces your print servers in, say, retail locations and clinics and so forth. It's a lot easier to manage, a lot cheaper, a lot more secure. And then I guess last but not least, I think one of the most unique things that we've probably done is that we've managed to assemble a team of people that care very, very deeply about making printing better. So that the rest of the audience of this interview doesn't necessarily have to care about printing all that much. They can just make it work.
Now, historically, a lot of people make announcements around VMware. Well, it was VMworld, but now VMware Explore. Do you guys have any announcements that you're going to be making at the show?
No, we decided not to make a very specific product announcement, but rather show the excitement of an in-person event to a lot of the things that we've worked on in the last 2.5 years. There's plenty to show, whether it's the ezeep hub that came out just at the beginning of the pandemic, or the secure pull print functionality, or the ezeep apps. Those really all saw the light of day throughout the time when we're mostly stuck at home or on Zoom. So the team, myself, and I would argue the technology as well, we're pretty excited to actually be out in the wild and see what everybody else is up to as well.
Now, speaking of the trade show and VMware, it's their show. They're going to be on the keynote stage talking about big picture items. What big themes, trends that are heading into 2023 is ezeep most interested in hearing about or thinking about?
I think as much as we've talked about the whole hybrid work thing for so long that I'm loath to actually speak the words, I think we're still trying to figure out how that actually works. There's still I actually spend the most time I've spent in the office with one of my coworkers yesterday, and was kind of reminded that that was kind of fun too. But outside of that, I usually never go to the office. And if I walk around downtown Denver, it still seems pretty empty as well. I think we're still trying to figure out how some of that works. I think one of the big topics for VMware, VMware Explorer, I guess we're all still learning the name, for VMware Explorer is the whole multi-cloud idea. That's something where I'm very curious to see where that goes. I think it's fair to argue that we've seen a little bit more of a concentration in the market towards fewer players over the last decades or so. So I'm very curious to see how all of those things tie together. I think that's a good opportunity for us. We're very agnostic to wherever and however you want to use ezeep. We don't make anybody choose any particular platform or any of that kind of stuff. And then generally, I'm very much looking forward to the opportunity to chat with people in a less organized format than what we're doing here currently, for example, or what we've all been doing on Zoom for so long, and kind of just get an experience, like see what are they up to, what is everybody interested in, what are they gravitating towards, what are they thinking about, and then incorporate that into our plans going forward as well, obviously.
Now, Henning, could you possibly give us a quick demo of the product and so we can see what it looks like and what it does?
I'd be delighted to. Let's see if it breaks or not. On the demo side, I'll start here in my web browser with the ezeep admin interface. You see there's not a ton to see, which is really what speaks to the simplicity of the product without taking away any of the power of functionality of it. You have your users and groups management, which for my particular account is not super interesting because it's tied to an Azure Active Directory. So you would do all your user and groups management in there. But for environments that are not tied to some sort of centralized identity provider, we have our own built-in. And then the most interesting part is probably the network printer section here. For my little fake company, I have a couple different printers here in the account. You can see some come from a print server. Those still make sense for certain larger type of deployments. Some, like the ones down here, come from an ezeep hub. And if I look at, let's say, we'll look at the last one here that's coming from the print server. You see there's not a whole lot to it. The printer's just there based on the printer object that's on the print server. And then I can pick here who that printer should be assigned to. It's pulling my Azure Active Directory groups. And then I could just hit this checkbox, and then that printer would be available to all users in that group within about 60 seconds without them having to go to some network path, without them having to map anything, restart their machine. It'll just show up within a few seconds. Then I will pick the next printer down here that's attached to an ezeep hub, just to show a slight difference. With the ezeep hub, we do all the rendering and processing for the job. In the previous scenario with the print server, that would happen on the print server. With the ezeep hub, this happens in the cloud, as we say a little too often these days. And all you need to do in order to make your printer work is to pick the model of printer from the list that we have provided here. If for some reason a printer is not available, we can add those in pretty quickly. It's pretty easy to file a request through the web portal to make that printer available. Last but not least, on the admin side, we have a couple policies you can set. There's really 4. You can allow, I'll show this in a second, you can allow users to select their own printers. Typically, when we think of printing, it's a very centralized approach that might, depending on the size of the organization, it might require a good bit of planning to make sure that this group of users gets this printer, that group of users gets the other printer, and then we go back to the hybrid work scenario where our offices have often changed a lot, and seating arrangements are a lot more flexible. So you could simply allow the users to go to just this portion of the website. They wouldn't see all the other admin options up here. And if they wanted an additional printer, they can just come here and switch that printer on for them. And then within a couple seconds, that is available to them. For the EUC-minded crowd, we have the local printer support. If you have a user that wants to bring a printer that's installed locally on their machine, say a home office computer, for example, into their virtual desktop, that's an option you can enable here, either for the entire company or only for certain groups, if you don't want this to be available for everybody. And then we have 2 other interesting options, pull printing, so where you swipe a badge or scan a QR code at the printer to authenticate to get the job, and the print later function, which is very cool. Let's say you're working on an iPad in a VMware Horizon virtual desktop. You can print to what's called the Any Printer by ezeep printer queue, and the job will be held in the background, and then you can just switch from your Horizon workspace into the ezeep app on your mobile device and release the job from there to whatever printer that's either close to you or that's somehow assigned to you. If you're not on the company network, so you have a sales team that's out and about, they want to print something, some sort of offer or whatever at a customer site, they can establish that connection without any kind of admin interference or work needed to get that done. Maybe just very quickly on the ezeep hub, since I mentioned it a couple times, I logged into mine here. It can find the printers, so it's a small device that plugs into your network. And let's say you plug this into a small branch office for a bank somewhere, then it'll just scan the network that it's on and find the printers. I'm not particularly interested in my tiny home office network with 1 printer, and then reports those printers into your ezeep account so that they immediately become available to their users. And maybe as a last one, I don't know how much time we have for this. As a last one, I have an Azure virtual desktop here. I guess we're all waiting to see what Microsoft and VMware may or may not announce that they're doing together in this space at VMware Explorer. And you see here, for example, the in-house clinic printer. And I'll just go back here real quick to my printer section. I have all this logged in with the same user. And while we look at something else, I'll turn these printers off, and then you'll see them disappear from here in a second. In the meantime, I will go back to a draft from a document that may or may not look familiar to David and hit print. And then you'll see that in your regular printer dialog, you see all the different printers that are assigned to you. And you can simply print this document to accounting, for example. You can make all your usual settings and then just hit print, and that'll do it. And in the meantime, in those couple of seconds that I needed to show that printing with ezeep really works exactly the same way that users expect printing to work, those two in-house Connect printers here disappeared from the list just by flicking that little switch on the website. And I think, or I guess the other thing I could show, since I talked about how this is all very cross-platform or whatever you want to call it, we're back here locally on my Mac. You see we have the exact same printers available that we just saw. And so I can just go back into the same document, just locally on my Mac, and then select that printer. You see you saw maybe the printers that are provided through ezeep have that little E in the front, so they're a little bit easier to find. And then that sends that that page right to the job. I'm not sure how good the noise canceling is. Maybe you can hear the printer behind me actually starting to do its job. And I think with that, we have a very quick overview of ezeep that actually includes everything the solution can do, whether that's for the one user we work with or a couple 10,000 users. It scales extremely seamlessly.
Well, thanks for the that great demo. And before we end and wrap things up, I just ask you, where can viewers go after they've watched this if they want to learn more about ezeep and some of the things that we talked about today?
Well, I guess there's two options. Either on our website, just ezeep.com. I think up here somewhere above me, just add a .com. Or we will be at booth number 1811 on the show floor at VMware Explore in a week and a half.
All right. Well, thanks. We appreciate your time today talking to VMblog, and we hope you have a great show at VMware Explore.
Thanks for having me. Look forward to seeing you in person.